I've never talked about lost media on my channel, not because I'm not interested in it, but rather it's because I never feel strongly enough about a lost TV show to make a dedicated video on it, at least until now. I was scrolling through Twitter this morning and spotted a particularly creepy looking puppet. Now, upon seeing this puppet, I promptly screamed and wept into my hands. After that, I decided to do some investigating and learned that this puppet came from a lost Irish TV series called the Rimini Riddle. The show ran from 1992 to 1995, and at this point in time, there are at least 27 episodes known to exist for sure, with only one being partially intact. There are clips from other episodes available, but it is unknown which episodes these clips belong to. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that this is one of the most fascinating things I have ever come across in terms of lost media. This Irish puppet show, supposedly made for children or at least young adults, is a brilliant, albeit unintentional, masterpiece in the world of uncanny horror. To understand how the Rimini Riddle accomplished this, we have to look at a few things: the plot, the execution, and the scarcity of the content. So, let's get into it. The premise on the Lost Media Wiki states that the Rimini Riddle is about three orphans named Rory, Leo, and Ellen, who live in a guest house with their Aunt Vera, known as the Rimini Guest House, after their parents die. The house is beside a beach, and the orphans are not allowed to go swimming. There is an old picture in the guest house painted by the children's grandmother of two little girls on a beach in Victorian costume and is highly treasured by Aunt Vera. One day while dusting, Ellen cracks the glass in the painting and finds herself in a fantasy world on the beach in the picture, where she meets the two little girls depicted in the picture, as well as a fisherman. The series apparently revolves around a mystery in the Rimini household. The mystery has something to do with the two girls depicted in the aforementioned picture, owned by Aunt Vera, who was said to have drowned years ago. There is also a plush otter called Otto, who is owned by Leo and is said to be evil, and may or may not have played some part in the fate of the girls. The series was known to have had many stories and character arcs, especially for a kids show, and has been described as a puppet soap opera. Now, keep in mind that this is lost media we're talking about, so this synopsis, this premise, take it with a grain of salt. This could be completely different when the show eventually resurfaces to the public. It could be a completely different story than what we're hearing. But still, this is interesting to say the least, especially for children's programming. We have a story of two little girls drowning, an evil otter thing, an otter puppet, which you'll get to see when we go over the execution segment, and you'll kind of get a vibe for how creepy and disgusting that thing looks. And to top it all off, it's described as a puppet soap opera, which is just so bizarre. I've never heard of anything like that in my life. It's so intriguing to me. Now, if the premise I just read you off the Lost Media Wiki, which you should definitely check out if you're into lost media, isn't enough for you to get sucked down into the Rimini Riddle rabbit hole, which is incredibly difficult to say, then I need to show you the actual execution of this show and the appearance of these puppets, along with many other factors that make this a masterpiece of uncanny horror. To understand what kind of nightmare we're dealing with here, we have to look at the only partially complete episode available. It's unknown when this episode was released or where in the show's timeline it lies. One thing I can say for sure about this partial episode is that it is downright baffling to try and understand who on earth this was made for. The puppets are far too uncanny for people to relate to them, whether the audience is teens, kids, or adults. It's really unclear who this was made for in any regard. Maybe in Ireland, children's content is handled differently than how it is here in the States, but I have trouble believing many kids were fond of these nightmarish puppets. Now, for fairness sake, this video is of very low quality, and it makes the puppets look even more creepy, so maybe when it originally aired, it was less uncanny. And it also seems like the Rimini Riddle did live performances at some point, which may have done the puppets some favors since their appearance most likely seemed less disturbing to an audience watching them from fairly far away on stage. Still, the puppets' mangy and matte felt faces are a disgusting sight.
I don't like looking at you.
But the appearance of these puppets isn't the only disturbing thing Rimini Riddle has to offer. The sound mixing is downright chilling. There isn't much music in this show, and the voice performances are honestly pretty good. Well, at least they're good if they're trying to make the show incredibly creepy. If the voice actors are trying to make the show whimsical and fun, then they are failing horribly. But it's still entertaining to me, so I'm not complaining.
Where's the key? Aunt Vera said it was in the lock. Oh, she must have taken it with her by mistake. What'll I do?
On top of that, the characters are always whispering and talking to themselves, and it gives the show a really bizarre feeling to it, because when the characters aren't interacting with each other, they're just interacting with themselves, and you can hear their lips smacking and the puppet mouths aren't quite matching up. It's just so bizarre and creepy.
That was the back door. No mistake about it. That was my barricade falling down.
As for the content of the episode, it follows the main character Rory here, staying in the guest house alone because his sisters and their friend accuse him of being too scared to stay in the house alone. It should also be noted that Rory is supposed to be staying at a friend's house while Aunt Vera is away, and honestly, Aunt Vera is probably one of the most confusing things about this entire show for me, because I can't really pin down what her role is, if she's bad, if she's good. She's probably like evil stepmother, if I had to guess, that kind of vibe, but we don't really get a whole lot of information on her in this episode or in really any of the clips that we have across all of the Lost Media wiki. So it's kind of up in the air what her deal is, but she most likely would be upset if she knew Rory was staying in the house without anyone else in it. So Rory is left alone and decides to listen to some music.
The eagles shriek, the blue whales cry, the forests of the earth will die, the forests of the earth will die, and then the next are you and I will die.
This show just keeps on swinging. Constant home runs of just creepy, disturbing stuff that I don't know what they were thinking. I think the idea is Rory's like a teenager and he's listening to angsty heavy metal music or punk music, and they just don't know how to convey that quite right, and so they just make him say that. It's so bizarre. I don't know what to make of it. I love it. I love it for how creepy and uncanny it is. But good God, what were they thinking? It's insane to me. Rory goes to sleep and is then startled awake by some rustling downstairs. He heads down and sees this disgusting looking old man. And I'm not gonna lie, this whole sequence here, the voice performances, it's pretty great. They're both kind of giving it their all while also not trying that hard. It feels like the best public access has to offer, like people that would be in local plays, that maybe their day job is like an accountant or something, but their passion and their hobby is voice acting or puppeteering. It's got that feel to it, where they're really trying here in this interaction. I just love stuff like this.
She never said you were coming. It occurs to me, young fella, Rory. It occurs to me, Rory, that you are looking at me with suspicion as a stealer of sausages. Well, I mean, I know very well what you mean, and you've hurt my feelings.
Now, like I said, Rory is not supposed to be in the house, and this old man is there just to eat sausage and kind of check up on things, I guess. And so Rory makes a deal where he agrees to cook the old man some more sausage in exchange for his silence in not telling Aunt Vera that he is staying the night there. It's really weird because this old man's coming into a house at like midnight to eat sausage. It's just downright bizarre, but I mean, he had a key to the house. He was nice to Rory, so I guess he doesn't pose a threat. So Rory just moves on. He goes upstairs and tries to go back to sleep. But now there is yet another disturbance downstairs, and this time it is Rory's two sisters and their friend coming in to give Rory a scare. Because like I said earlier, They basically dared Rory to stay in this guest house alone because they claimed he was too scared, and now they're going to play a little trick on him to startle him and teach him a lesson about something. I don't know. It's not abundantly clear. Keep in mind, this is only a partial episode. I don't have like the opening lead in as to what set this all up, so the motivations are pretty confusing, but this is what's happening in the episode, and it's about to get crazy. His sisters and their friend decide to put on masks, and they're these things. It's just so goddamn creepy looking. It's amazing. They cover up their creepy puppet faces, and it looks just as, if not more terrifying than the puppet faces. There's no winning here. You can't cover them up or else they look scary. You take off the bags, they look scary. It's just terrifying. But Rory learns that they are going to try and scare him, so he decides to get one step ahead of them. He hides behind a door and comes out with his rolling pin for self-defense, pretending it's a gun. And Rory claims he's a burglar and that he has already murdered himself, or Rory as the burglar, and he is about to kill the three of these girls.
I like shooting children.
Oh, my brother's upstairs. He'll get the police.
He's probably gone for the police already.
He's not going anywhere.
He shot Rory.
Oh,
Rory seems really proud of himself for pulling off this little trick on his like 8-year-old sister, his 11-year-old sister, or I should specify too. I don't actually know if these characters are sisters. I'm assuming that Rory and these two little girls plus the blonde one, the two little girls are like, they're related to him supposedly because they're all three orphans, and then the one girl that's kind of like the romantic lead, I think, is like their neighbor. I don't know. It's all assumptions on that front. I should have said that earlier. I apologize. I've never done a missing lore or whatever video before. I almost called it the secret lore. That's a different series. Oh, good God. My brain's falling apart trying to think about the Rimini Riddle. It's just, this is so insane. There's so much to process here, and there's so much stuff that you would think they would notice would be incredibly creepy and unsettling to a young audience, but they just ignore it. They just move on, and it's just joyous to watch. So the episode ends with a third disturbance downstairs while Rory is trying to sleep. This time, it is Aunt Vera returning home because she got the dates wrong, and she confronts him about the mess in the kitchen from the old man and from the girls pushing over a table that Rory used to barricade the door. Long story, not super important. And then the episode ends. So hopefully you can see there why this show intrigued me so much, but of course we have one final piece to talk about, and that is the scarcity of the actual content. While I would love to see more of the Rimini Riddle, I honestly think this show is at the perfect spot a piece of lost media can be at. It gives us just enough to be mysterious and creepy, and I honestly think if we knew any more about this show at this point, it would kill some of the magic behind it. The mystery is what makes lost media so intriguing to me. Once shows are fully discovered, or when interviews come out about it, a lot of what made the lost media intriguing just disappears. But that's the beauty of searching for this lost media stuff. It's really that perfect example of the journey being more important than the destination. I don't really care about the story of the Rimini Riddle. What interests me is the thought process behind it, and why something as creepy as this would be made for children. There's so many factors to it that intrigue me, and that's what I really enjoy. I don't really care about when all the episodes come up. Maybe I'll watch a few of them and get a feel for how creepy this show was and the actual story behind it, just out of curiosity. But it's the search that's really fun and intriguing to me about this stuff, and that's why I've been into it for so long. And it's honestly a shame I haven't talked about it on the channel sooner, because I love this stuff so much. So if there's other lost media you want me to check out, or if you have any information on the Rimini Riddle, please post it down in the comment section below. I try to read every single comment on this channel, so don't be shy. Yours will most likely not be overlooked unless we have a Better Call Saul situation again, which I have to say, once again, thank you all very much for the support recently. The channel is growing at a pretty great rate right now, and I'm trying to make this my #1 priority for the summer, just growing this channel and expanding my content and trying to push myself in the stuff I'm making. So your feedback and your support is greatly appreciated. I cannot thank you all enough for that. You have no idea what it means to me, having done YouTube stuff for almost 7 years at this point, with a bunch of different stuff going on, from talking about theory videos with Five Nights at Freddy's to movie reviews to animation, now to Lost Media. It's just so much fun to change things up and do new things, and for the people that have stuck with me through all of that, it really does mean the world. So once again, thank you. If there's anything else you want me to talk about, post it in the comment section below. Like and subscribe to become a cow, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.